Hi Anna, and I'm just going to talk you through the task for lesson 5 because this is one big task that should take you roughly about an hour. This lesson, as you should be aware, is all about the impacts of water insecurity. So essentially it's all of the bad things that can happen to nations and countries and places that don't have enough water. Now the task is to produce a mind map about all of the impacts. Now, as usual in geography, these mind maps need to be nice and detailed. When I've done this in the classroom, this takes up at least a double page, and lots of students actually go onto another page as well. And these key terms should be used, so I treat this almost like a bit of a checklist. Now, obviously, it's not just a process of writing random things around here. We want to link things together. So lack of safe drinking water, you could put in there the fact that many women and girls walk for hours to access clean water. Now, obviously, there's knock-on effects of that. So you could then go into talking about how that means that they don't have time to go to school, so they don't get an education, they can't read and write, they can't get jobs in the future. So it's all that so what stuff, asking yourself, so what, if there's anything else you can put on there, making sure you do that. You also need to include specifics, and there's a couple of places that you can get that from. Now, in the folder with this worksheet, you'll have noticed there's two information sheets. Now, the first one looks like this. This is the simpler one that has some specifics in there, and this is definitely the place to start. The other one is a little bit more complicated, which you'll find here. There is quite a lot to read through, but there's loads and loads of specifics in there. So I want you to have a go at that one. Obviously, if you're somebody that should be getting, really high grades, you want to be focusing more on this one than the other one. Now, the main things to kind of take away from this, so disease is quite a big one. Now, there's lots of reasons why problems with water pollution and things can cause diseases. So if you've got a lack of clean drinking water, then you're probably going to be drinking unclean drinking water, and that is going to make you sick. That can affect you in lots of other ways as well, such as not being able to get jobs, not being able to go to school because you are ill quite a lot of the time. Also, older siblings quite often lose their parents and have to take on the role of the parents in the family as well, because a lot of these diseases can ultimately cause death. So definitely the spread of things like cholera, typhoid, dysentery, hepatitis, those are some of the key diseases. But not only that, wherever you've got stagnant, dirty water, you've also got their breeding grounds for mosquitoes, and in tropical countries, that can lead to more disease being spread. Food production is a big one. Obviously, as you should know from the previous lessons, that agriculture is the biggest source of water. A lot of these nations that do have famine, it is related to the fact that they are in countries that don't have huge amounts of water, that don't have big food supplies, as well as countries that are too poor to be able to afford things like dams and water pipes and so on. So that's obviously a big problem in places like Ethiopia, so the sub-Saharan African countries, and that's a real problem. But also, not just in Africa, we've got a problem with the Midwest grain belt in the USA that produces a whole third of the world's cereal crops, and that is suffering at the minute as well. So that's going to have an economic impact in the USA, but actually around the world as well. Don't forget industry as well. We've talked about agriculture being a big water use. Industry is another one. If there is a lack of water, there's lots of problems in industry there. Industry is thirsty, it uses a lot of water. You can't have industry if you don't have enough water to feed it. But also electricity. So we've got this picture here is of a hydroelectric dam. So that's where you put a dam on a river. That's a water supply, but it also generates electricity. And if the dam level drops, it can no longer generate electricity, and that's something they're worried is going to happen at the Hoover Dam in the USA, and that provides Las Vegas and stuff with water as well as electricity, and they're worried it won't be able to generate electricity if the water supply drops behind it. But also nuclear energy needs huge amounts of water as well. Coal does as well. So if you run out of water or don't have enough water, you may struggle to produce electricity. Another big one is conflict. So war. Now, a big example is the Middle East. There is huge amounts of tension in the Middle East, which is a very dry area. It's already politically volatile, which means that they fight already over lots of other different things. And a lot of these countries here, so the ones named here, Syria, Lebanon, Israel, Jordan, they share the River Jordan. And if one country dams a river that flows into another country, they're effectively taking water away that would ultimately flow into that other country. So there is a lot of tension between these countries about water. Not only building a dam, but also if you extract too much water from a river, there'll be less water downstream, and that can cause problems, and pollution as well can cause problems. So they're kind of the main things we need to be aware of. So very quickly to reiterate, this is the skeleton of your mind map. Make as many links as possible, fill it with detail, fill it with specifics, use these key terms to help, and you should produce a really good piece of work from that. So good luck with it. Off you go.